Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a tutorial on a studio-based retouching of portraits. So I tend to think that there is a difference when you're retouching from a location shoot. So any photographs that are taken in natural light and on location, I think they're very different to studio shots, and particularly beauty shots that are taken in the studio, because a lot of the time the beauty shots will be very close up. And you do need to pay more attention to the skin editing in the photograph and dodging and burning. And even getting the colours right is a little bit different, I find, compared to location. I think you can get away with a little bit more with location shoots, with natural light and with colouring them. Whereas studio, I find, can be a lot of the time a little bit more time consuming. So hopefully this tutorial is not going to go for like hours and hours or anything. I will try and keep it as simple as possible, but I know I've had a few requests from people wanting to see more start to finish retouching tutorials, which is totally fine, and I'm happy to do that. So with this photograph, I'll just give you a little bit of background information on it. This was the first photograph I took using my new Elinchrom lighting kit. And I was going to do a video on sort of like the behind the scenes of setting everything up, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I'm a little bit of a studio noob at the moment. So I'm still trying to find out, what's working best for me and how to use everything properly. And that particular day, I spent God knows how many hours just trying to get the Octabox set up. So yeah, I'm definitely glad I didn't do a tutorial on that, or, on setting up the studio just yet, because, as I said, still learning. So obviously, the lighting, this is my first time really doing my own studio shoot with my own equipment, and it was a little bit of a challenge for me just with editing. It was different, I found. There are differences in editing, so just keep that in mind when you're watching this tutorial. I haven't done a lot of studio editing before, but this is just what I did to this image, and yeah, hopefully you guys learn something from it and enjoy it. So the first thing we're going to start off with this photo is going to be skin editing. I always like to do that first. It's just my method of retouching, I guess. So we're going to zoom in and just take a little bit of a look at what needs to be just improved on, or maybe removed. So this is actually not a mole, by the way. This is or a freckle. That's actually dust from my camera lens, and I need to clean them. So yeah, there's a few of those spots around, so we'll definitely get rid of those. Any bigger moles and things like that, or standout freckles or features, I usually don't remove unless I have a client telling me to remove them, only because they're features of the model's face, and I just like to keep them in there usually. I don't really see them as a problem. So yeah, there's just a little bit of dryness maybe on the skin just here that needs to be removed, but apart from that, the model Oshina has like amazing skin, so we really don't need to do too much. We're just going to do a bit of like smoothing over in parts and a little bit of dodging and burning. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is run a frequency separation action. So if you've seen in my other videos, you will have seen that I do use a frequency separation action for most of my photographs. You can make these yourself, or you can download an action. This one I have downloaded, although sometimes I will make my own. It's just a quicker way of doing it, I guess, to just download one and or make your own and turn that into an action. Either way, it works. So I'm going to run that action now. It's I have like a quick key, so for F2 is usually my frequency separation key. So then I'll just press OK. OK. I've actually done this, explained how to use this action in previous tutorials, so I will link them down below. And we click invert there, go to blending mode, add, and OK. And OK. There's just a few settings that you need to go through first usually with this particular action, but as you can see on the right hand side of the Photoshop panels, we have a high layer and we have a low layer. So the high layer is the texture, so I'll just remove that to show you what it is, and then the low layer is obviously like the colouring, the base of the image, so the texture will be the top layer. First off, when I'm using frequency separation, I like to use the low layer first, so I do the texture layer last. So I'm just going to hide that for a second and click on the low layer. And I would recommend, if you have a graphics tablet, it is the best way to do skin retouching. There's a long time where I didn't have a graphics tablet, and because my last one broke, and then I had to use a mouse, and it was a bit painful. But luckily my boyfriend bought me a graphics tablet last Christmas, and I could finally use one again, and it is so much easier. And it's more, I guess, you can be more particular with using it too. So I'm just going to get the healing brush tool over on the left hand side here, and to use this tool you just hold down Alt and then click around the area to sample the image, and then you just click over the places that need to be sort of smoothed out. So we just want to get rid of any strange looking shadows or darker areas on the image at the moment. We're just going to not go too much around the eye area because we want a bit of detail in that area. So just any noticeable areas that need smoothing out, we'll just go over. Okay, it looks like there's probably not much that will need to be done on this layer. Just a little bit of smoothing out, and that's pretty much it. Okay, and just on the forehead, there's that speck of dust on my camera lens. I actually really need to clean them. I was taking photos in Cairns the other day when I was there recently, and a lot of my landscape shots or any shots that have the sky, and you could see all the specks of dust. And yeah, I'm one lazy person when it comes to cleaning my lenses, and I need to do that very soon. So I think that's pretty much all we're going to do on that layer. I really feel like there's not that much that needs to be done. Obviously I have already edited this image, but I'm just doing it again from scratch to show you guys what I would do on an image like this. Okay, so we're just going to bring up the high layer again, and I'll show you guys what that has done just by working on the low layer. So I'll just take a snapshot and see you've removed pretty much any sort of strange shadows or anything like that, but the texture is still kept intact. So we will just zoom down here and make sure that on the arms that they're looking kind of smooth as well, and we'll go back to the low layer and just sort of smooth out some areas there, because that's one thing I tend to forget a lot of the time about is, you know, other areas just than the face, because I spend so much time, you know, retouching, you know, the face and getting the tones right and everything, and you just never think about, you know, the limbs or the hands that are in the shot, and a lot of the time they do need retouching. So I am trying to be a little bit better with that lately. So I think everything else is pretty good. Might just smooth that out there. That'll do. And then I'll bring the high layer up again. And now we can start on the texture. So as I said before, there is really not that much we're going to have to do here. So I'm just going to get the clone. I sometimes use the healing brush tool for this layer, or I use the clone stamp. And then, so I'm going to use the clone stamp for this one in particular. So I'll just change the hardness a little bit harder, and change the size a little bit. Actually, I might bring that up a bit more. Okay, so we're going to make sure the high layer is selected, and then we're just going to hold down Alt, sample from the image, and then click on the spots we want to be edited. So I just kind of prefer the clone stamp tool, I think, sometimes, because it really helps retain the texture in the image. Sometimes the healing brush can make it look blurry, or it can lose a little bit of the quality. out of the image. So I've definitely been using the clone stamp tool a lot more recently. And sometimes the clone stamp tool doesn't work properly, and that's when I kind of use the healing brush tool, and that will you know, make it look a little bit better sometimes, but it really depends on the photo that you're using, I guess. And yeah. Okay. So with editing beauty images or close-up portraits, especially in studio, I would definitely recommend zooming in to make sure that you're getting you know, a bit more detail into the image, and make sure that you're editing like the finer details in the image, because sometimes, you know, with location images, like I said previously, it's easier to kind of not focus on that as much, especially on the facial features and like editing every little thing, but you can notice it a lot more in studio work and close-up portraits. So we're just going to keep editing these little bits. The model's skin is very smooth in this shot. I think the lighting helped with that, but yeah, we're not going to have to do too much editing even on the texture layer, so that's always good. If you can manage to position the lighting in a way that will help later on when you are having to do skin editing and retouching, it's very helpful, because that will probably cut your editing time by like half, you know, depending on the photo. But yeah, definitely keep that in mind if you're shooting studio. Studio is just so different to location work though. Like I'm still really getting used to it, because it is just so different. And I used to kind of not really be bothered with studio work, and like, you know, I was like, oh, I'm a natural light photographer, blah blah blah, which is fine. But like, I think eventually I realized that I was missing out on a huge market, particularly with fashion photography. So that's kind of why I got into it more. And it is good to be able to control the light, you know, whereas, you know, when you're on a location shoot, you can't control the light a lot of the time. You know, you do the best you can, but if you're dealt a crap hand with light that day, then that's what you have to deal with. And sometimes that sucks, especially if it's pouring down rain, or, you know, really cloudy to the point where you're not getting any light at all. Yeah, that's never a good thing. But yeah, I guess that's one good thing about studio, is that you can have a backup in case, you know, it does rain or the weather's not great. So I don't like doing too much skin editing. I like doing it to a point where it's not looking plastic, but it's looking, you know, professional and smoothed, and, you know, just to a good standard, I think. Otherwise, I think there are people that go a bit overboard with skin retouching, and believe me, that used to be me when I was first starting out. I was not good at skin editing. I had no idea what I was doing. And even now, like, sometimes I look at my photos and I'm like, oh, I probably pushed that a little bit too far with the editing. But yeah, I think it's just, sometimes it can be less is more. And I've seen that a lot with beauty images in the studio in particular. Okay. So as you can see, like, the clone tool really does help in retaining the texture, and help creating like an evenness to the skin tone. Like, I've really preferred recently just using this tool over the healing brush, because I think it works better to an extent. But, you know, everyone has their own methods of editing, so this is just what I usually do. And half the time my methods change a lot anyway, so I always tend to think that I do things the hard way around. Like, people say to me all the time, like, if I'm doing something, if I'm editing or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, you know, you can just, like, click such and such button and that'll happen. Like, I'll be doing it the hardest way possible, and I'll be like, no, thanks for that. Like, people tell me stuff like that all the time. Like, I get hints all the time. So, yeah. If you guys think that I can do anything a little bit easier, definitely let me know, because I'm sure there are many things that I do, you know, like from when I was mainly self-taught, that I still do, and I could probably do them a lot easier. But, oh well. Okay. So if we just zoom out a little bit, that is looking a bit smoother at the moment. So my footage decided to cut out just a second ago, which was really annoying because I went through and edited just a couple more things, but I'll just show you guys what I did. I just removed a few more spots from the forehead area, and just on the eye makeup, I'll show you a before and after of that. So this was the before, and I just went around and sort of removed all the spots from, like, the fallout from underneath the eye, and just tidied up the brows a bit. So that's what it looks like now. I've just removed some of the hairs as well, and we'll do the rest of the editing there with dodging and burning. So it's just a little bit of editing there that I've done. So yeah, that was so annoying. I didn't even realize it had cut out until like a minute after I was still editing, so, but at least I realized. So the next step will be dodging and burning with this image. So this will be pretty important for the eye makeup. With dodging and burning, I like to always hold down Alt and then click on the new layer button just down here, and then we change the mode to overlay and click fill with overlay neutral color and press OK. So we have a new layer for our dodging and burning. So sometimes I'm lazy and I don't create one separate layer for dodging and then one for burning, but yeah, today I think I'm going to do separate layers. So first off, we're going to do dodging. So layer 1 will be dodging, and we're just going to select the dodge tool. And usually I like to work on mid-tones first and then do highlights with dodging. So I've got protect tones selected, and we're just going to leave the exposure at about 7%. So we're going to first off just run the brush underneath the eye to brighten that up a little bit on each side, and on this side of the face is looking just a little bit dark, so we'll move that over there. Probably won't be too much dodging that we'll need to do today, actually. It'll be more burning around the eyes just to really enhance the smoky eye makeup that Oshina has on. So we'll just keep dodging there, and a little bit on the forehead too. Okay, and then we'll just zoom out and make sure this is looking all smooth on the arm as well. I'll just zoom out a little bit more. Oh, my computer's going really slow today. So we're just going to run the dodge tool just over Oshina's arm, her hand. Okay. And then just a little bit over this area here. So I'll do the dodging and burning on the makeup last, just so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing to it. Okay, so we'll create another layer for burning, same thing as before. So layer 2 will be burning. So I'll just do a couple more highlights on layer 1, which is the dodging layer, and then we'll get on to the burning. So highlights will be probably down the nose. We'll just emphasize that a little bit more. Same settings as before, I think. And just over the top lip and on the lip. And we'll just add a little bit more brightness to the cheek as well. And the forehead. And chin. And we'll also just do some dodging on the hair as well with the highlights. I like to sort of bring out curls and that sort of thing with just dodging a little bit on the brighter parts of the hair. And a little bit down the arm. So this is what we've done so far with the dodging. So it's really just enhanced a little bit on the image. We might come back to that later, but for now we'll get on to the burning. So most of the burning will be done, I think, around the eyes, because that's really where we need to enhance the makeup. So first off, I'm just going to burn in the eyebrows a little bit more, just fill them in a little bit. Okay. So we don't want to make them look too blocky or anything like that, so we'll just do it quite lightly at first. Okay, we'll zoom out. Whoops, out. And then I'll show you what that's done. So that's just really enhanced the eyebrow a little bit more, made it a little bit darker, and filled it in a little bit. So just do the same on the other eyebrow. That's already looking pretty good though. Okay, so now we're going to focus on this area of the eye and the eyeshadow. I was saying this before my video got, after my video got cut off, sorry. But sometimes with makeup there's just things that are out of your control and that the makeup artist can't fix. And sometimes that will have to do with the lighting, and sometimes colours don't come up properly on camera, or they come up too light or too dark or whatever. With this particular shoot, the poor model and makeup artist were waiting quite a while for the studio to be set up, so the makeup obviously would probably crease a little bit. It's not very noticeable in this photo, but you know, just there's sometimes situations like that come up and you will need to do some retouching on the makeup. I'm just going to start burning over the eyeshadow to make it look a lot darker, because it was supposed to be a smoky eye, but obviously with the light being quite bright from the studio lights, it's looking a little bit grey. So we're just going to really burn that in, particularly around the lash line. We really want that to be dark. Alright. So, and we'll just sort of smooth it out a little bit more onto this area. Okay, just try and get it, you know, as neat as we possibly can. So already that's like looking a lot darker just by dodging it, sorry, just by burning it. So now we're going to do the bottom layer, so darkest at the lashes. And the important thing is to not block the makeup in or make it look too perfect or too, you know, depending on what the makeup style is, I guess. But with the smoky eye, we don't want to make it look too perfect and, you know, like it has been edited. We just want to keep it as natural as possible. So just burning and following the natural line of the makeup. Sometimes this can be a really difficult thing to do, but this isn't too bad actually. This is pretty easy at the moment. Okay, so we'll also do some dodging on the makeup to really bring out the highlights. So show you guys what that has done. So that's really enhanced that area. We're going to get back onto layer 1 and do some dodging. So first off with the mid-tones, and I'm just going to run it underneath the eyebrow, the dodge tool. And just kind of like make that more of a gradient kind of looking there. And just brighten it up a little bit in the inner corner. And just underneath the eye, and we can create more of a gradient around here as well to not make it look too outlined, I guess, too straight looking. Okay, so obviously, like, you can spend hours doing this part, but, you know, I don't want to be sitting here for hours while you poor guys are watching this video and getting extremely bored or anything like that. So I'll just show you guys what I have done so far. So just by dodging and burning, that has really outlined that area a lot better. And I'm just going to do the same on this side and then just soften it out a little bit. So I'm going to go back to layer 2 and burn this area in a little bit more as well. Okay, so we don't have to do too much on this side really, because you can't see most of it, but just darkest at the lashes and then in the shadowed areas. And a little bit on the bottom as well. And go back to the dodging layer. And just brighten up the inner corner again a little bit with mid-tones. Okay, just underneath the eye as well. And we'll just zoom out and see how that looks. So yeah, that looks a bit better. We're just going to soften out the under eye on this one. So back to the burning layer. So you will do a little bit of back and forth with this technique. Okay. So just a little bit more burning to make this area look a little bit softer. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the dodging layer again and just do some of the highlights. So we really want to highlight the eye, make that reflection just stand out a little bit more, and the colour of the eye. So not too much, but just enough so it'll stand out. And then we're going to do the inner corner and really highlight that area, because that's the part that's been caught by the light, and just above, or just below I should say, the eyebrow and on the tip of the eyelid, just on the top of it. Not too much over the eyelid, because then it will start to make it look a bit grey again. Okay, and I think that's good for highlights. We'll just zoom out. It's just added a little bit more contrast, I guess, and we're going to do the same on this one, just in the inner corner and on the top of the eyelid. Not too much on this side, because there's not that much light on that side anyway. But yeah, that should be fine. So that's kind of what we've done so far. I'm just going to do another before and after. Why does my history tab keep disappearing? Okay, so we're going to take another snapshot and just see what the before is. So this is the before and that's the after. So like I said before, we can sit here all day and do more dodging and burning on that, but for now I think you guys get the idea anyway, and we're just going to leave it as that. So I'm going to get the burn tool again just quickly and go over other parts of the face that I think might need to be burnt in just a little bit more, maybe just a little bit more on this side of the nose and at the base. It's quite a light image though, so I don't think we'll have to do too much burning. I think I might just do some on the arm, just on the darker areas. Okay. Just on that side of the forehead too. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that dodging and burning. I'll just show you guys what that looks like without the dodging and burning and with. So it does make a difference. Now we're going to move on to another part that I really find difficult with editing studio images, and that's getting the tones. And with the colours on this particular photo that I used, I did use, I'm pretty sure I used colours that I'd used on previous photos before, and I don't usually do this. I don't usually use the same colours, you know, for every photographic series. I try and get a new set of colours for each series. However, I did struggle with colours for this particular photo, and I found that these colours worked really well that I'd used previously. So I'll just do, I'm pretty sure I might have already done a tutorial on these colours, but I'll just go through them again, so everything's in the one tutorial. So these particular colour adjustments are as follows. So the first one is a colour fill that I used, so a solid colour, and that was 333 152. Press OK, and we set this one to lighten and 33%. And I forgot to say that usually before I start on the colour retouching, I will save the image as a PSD just with the skin retouching and dodging and burning, just so we've got that separate and we can go back to that anytime we want to. The next step will be, after the solid colour, will be a selective colour. And with the reds, we're going to move to the magentas and put that down as -5. Then to the yellows, and we're going to change them to -62. And then the whites, neutrals and blacks we'll focus on, so as usual, like I do in most of my videos. So the whites will be -2, -12, -8 and 0. Then the neutrals will be -1, 0, 4 and 0. And then the blacks will be +10, 3, 8 and 0. So that's our selective colour done, and then we will move on to a curves layer. So there won't be too many adjustments in this layer. We're just going to put a few points in. So the first one will be 10 and 0. The next one will be 34 and 34. The next point will be 93 and 97. And the next one is 205 and 199. And then the last one will be 254 and 255. And then the next adjustment layer will be another solid colour, and that will be 495, 664. We'll press OK and set the blending mode to colour dodge and 8% opacity. And then we'll get up a vibrance layer and set that to -5 and 0. So I'm just going to take a snapshot of what we've just done. So that was the before and that was the after. So I feel like those colours work quite well for this particular photo. I'm just going to go back to the burning layer actually and just burn in some of the spots on the face that I feel like are a little bit too bright. So while we've still got them there, we'll just go to the burning layer, get the burn tool, and just go over some of the spots that are probably a little bit too bright just at the moment. So just go over that sort of area and zoom out. So that's a little bit better, I think, just after doing that burning. And then I think we're pretty much good. I might just add a few more dodging points. Just on the nose. And on the lip. On the lips. And I think that's pretty much done. So now I'm just going to do a before and after of what we have done to the image. So this was the before and this was the after in it. So I'm going to zoom in and show you guys exactly what's been done. So this was the before and this is the after. So there's a bit of a difference there, and as I said, like I did probably spend quite a bit more time on the original image that I did edit of this, so it was really just showing you guys a basic tutorial on what I would do with this image and what I did do with it. And you can spend hours and hours retouching images like this, but like I said, I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to see me retouching for hours and hours on end. So yeah, this is pretty much what I did to it. The only other thing that I might have done was probably just lightened up the background just a little bit on the side here, smoothed that out, which I'll just quickly do now. Takes like 2 seconds. And that's pretty much it. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I hope you guys learned something from it. If there's any requests that you'd like to send me, definitely do so because I'm always willing to do them. And yeah, I hope you guys liked it. If you have any particular questions about retouching on this photograph, just leave them in the comments section below. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching.